Hey everyone, Kane here, and in this one we're gonna talk about how to learn to PvP and somewhat a formation building. So I've made a video before against this guy, so we might as well use it for, I suppose, some tips. So this is my current formation, and why am I using it like that? So majority of the time people don't have something that we call a burst site, which is a site that has incredible amounts of damage, and a stall site, a site that is meant to tank a lot of damage and damage take and like soaking damage in terms of healing, invincibilities, and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that go into one of them, a lot of things that go into the other. So first, let's start with the placement. So as you can see, I have Raxia's frontline, I have Dragon frontline, and then I have heroes behind them. The reason for the Dragon is because of its abilities and what he has. So the main ability why I place him frontline is the Corrosive Scales. Radiates an aura, increasing the damage taken by nearby enemies by 20%. Basically, all of the enemies in front of the Dragon in like I suppose a circle radius or something like that, they can increase 20% magic and physical damage. And then of course I have Aura Blast, which then again further buffs the damage taken of the enemy by, I do believe, 35% total, 20 and 15. And then at the same time that the Aura Blast procs, the Dragon procs Magic Swell, reducing the magic resistance of nearby enemies struck by the wave by 15%, can stack. So my Dragon carries so much debuffs on the enemy frontline so that my mages and my DPS just do an incredible amount more damage. So of course this is a pretty unsafe way to put your Dragon. Your Dragon can instantly die against some formations if you don't have strong heroes. Your Dragon dies and you lose the fight and all of those things. And yes, this formation can be countered. And yes, there's are a couple of counters, a couple of heroes, a couple of archers that can somewhat make it so it's harder to win with this formation. But there are more stuff that you can win against than there are stuff that can actually beat you with their formation. So that is why this formation is sort of good, at least around my core power and with the research that I currently have. So if people are not going to believe what I say or whatever, let's just check out my research, I suppose. You can see I have mages 640 almost, rogues almost 500. As you can see, I don't have tier 15, from tier 13 to 16. Mages, I have 15 and 16. I don't have the others. Generals, I don't think you even need to be to even look at that. It's less than 200. And gladiators, I almost have tier 16. Like, do you see how much research I am missing and what my rank is in the duel tower right now and what kind of people I am facing? And pretty much it comes down with, again, formation building and the buffs, debuffs, damage on like so many things in this formation. So that was just one thing, the Dragon. So we have Raxius with the buffs and debuffs that he does carry. So you have the stuns that he has. You have debuffs from the mantra beats from an event. You have Hourglass, which provides him CC immunity as well as invincibility if it drops below a certain percentage. And then of course you have the abilities which he also debuffs. And most people place him frontline. If you're facing like a squad of archers, if you're facing the enemy burst side, basically you cast Raxius, you stun them, you debuff them, they do 0 damage for like 20 seconds almost. And then if you do happen to kill them before he kills you, you just reduce so much stuff, so much damage, so much attack speed that in the end they don't do damage for like 20 seconds. And that can be a win and that can be a loss, depending how you use it. Then of course I have one tank with invincibility, so he soaks a lot of damage for a decent amount of time. He has taunts from, I think, Hero Mastery. as well as a prism, as well as I have a debuff. Now, I didn't have anyone else to put that artifact on except for Solaris, and if I face the stall side, I kind of require this. Nearby enemy healing efficacy minus 50%, which kind of helps out from what I've noticed so far. And then I have the Conch, which also reduces the enemy healing receipt, which I found quite a lot better than a defensive artifact on Solaris. Now, I do know that this is like I didn't have anything else or anyone else to put this on. So yeah, that is why I've done it. Then, of course, I have Sizo for DPS, Bazrik for his bats to increase the damage taken. One moment, ability, Vampire Bats. For 5 seconds, enemies take 34% increased damage. The enemies that do happen to get hit by Bazrik. Now, do keep in mind, I don't have Bat Blitz high level. The reason for that is in the corner, Bazrik usually tends to survive. And if he damages somebody or something and is still alive, and some of the enemy heroes tend to get lower HP from Avril, from Valerie, from Ophidia Snakes, or many other things, every time Bazrik causes damage, he then deals a portion of that damage to heroes who are below 25% HP. Basically, he has a pretty high chance to just straight up kill those heroes. So that is why I kind of use it. And of course, he has damage, attack speed, and all of those add-ons. Going back to the formation, I have Tisafin, who carries a lot of damage. As you know, I use a lot of, or not a lot of, I use a decent portion, like 20% plus hero attack stones. Because I only have one ranged unit, which is a spider, and I'm not gonna waste 4 or 5 prisms just to buff it. Even though he only sometimes does damage. Like, sometimes it's okay. I don't really require him to do incredible amounts of damage in exchange for millions and millions of my mage's damage. So, Tisafin for damage. We have Alana with buffing the DPSs on here with Sacred Wings, with other buffs. Then I have Floras with Nectar of Life, providing invincibility, healing received, all of those kinds of buffs, as well as the buffs from her own passives. I have Rufio with Leo's Pride and more damage the longer the battle begins kind of set. And then I have Avril. One moment. This is my Avril build, and let's see. I do have the sort of passive damage, and after I cast her ability, she starts firing those glacier shards at a pretty huge rate. I tried Ice Nova and it never really worked for me, right? So I usually cast Avril a few times, like Blizzard, couple of Novas, and then it really depends where she is, whether or not she does anything. So I usually just do like this and try to proc like the Arcanate with Ice Nova. I'm not sure if this is like the best build or whatever. This is what I kind of found to be more decent at my own stage. Whether or not it would be helpful for you, it's a question that you should solve yourself. Then, of course, I have Valerie. Now, do note that Valerie also has debuffs in terms of a particular build. So, you have Burning, excuse me, you have Burning Exalted. Basically, burning enemies' magic resistance is reduced by 35%. Now, I'm not entirely sure whether this is burning resistance or magic resistance, because it says Valerie's attacks cause a burning effect. Burning enemies, which means like this effect, burning, magic resistance is reduced. So what it would say or implicate that the magic resistance is being reduced and not the burning resistance. So you reduce magic resistance from her own passive abilities, and then you have one moment. And then you have the Arcane Rod, which also kind of reduces or increases damage taken. So you have the 5-star ability. Magic damage from basic attacks after Arcane Awakening renders the target 40% more vulnerable to magic damage from heroes. So that is another thing. Like, this hero in particular provides a lot more damage that your other mages can also do. So, checking the other heroes, Nora doesn't really provide much, I don't think. Then I have Bane. I recently added Bane with a few debuffs. So I've purchased the Warmaker's main, and I had Helgar 4-star to put on, I guess, my burst side or somewhere else. And I chose Bane, and I added into Formation. I don't really have a lot of experience at the moment to level him up. So the reason why I added this into the Formation: 4-star effect, damage suffered by nearby enemy units plus 20%, as well as the Prism, Fearsome Aura. Damage taken by surrounding enemy units increased by 11.2%. The hero's melee damage inflicts weakened armor, increasing damage taken by affected enemies by 11.2%. Now, I'm not sure whether or not this is physical damage. It just says increases damage taken. So I assume magic damage as well, question mark. So essentially, I do assume that it works like that, and this hero just in an area basically carries an additional 40% damage taken that the enemies can receive. So going forward towards the formation, then Ophidia, of course, has the Pagan's Curse, right? One moment. God damn it, I gotta go through every single hero. Abilities has Pagan's Curse. Ophidia snakes curse the nearby enemies, increasing the magic damage they take by 30% or so and reducing healing received. So at particular places or fights that I do have, if I face a burst versus burst side, I cast the snake into the enemy burst side. The reason for that is then whenever I cast Avril in there, I do more damage towards their burst heroes, I proc their invincibilities, or just straight up kill them. Now, there is another thing which I guess a few people may not know. So if you're using the dragon set, right, hero bonus 99% damage immune for 5 seconds. Sometimes when you proc this hero towards this particular immunity, that hero sometimes doesn't do damage. Sometimes, not always. So the faster you proc this hero to that the faster you proc this hero to that, basically you're buying a few seconds where this hero is not going to do damage. Sometimes it's 1 second, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. There is something with those invincibilities that just doesn't mix, and some heroes get broken and they just don't do damage. So do keep that in mind. Basically, this one, if I face a burst side, it's meant to debuff and damage and also buff the other heroes to wipe the burst side of the enemy. And then, of course, you have Arian, which also carries a lot of debuffs. So what I do have, basically, this is the current Arian build. I ran Blood Depth at level 10 and Bloodthirst at level 7. So the difference that I changed was the chance of enemies taking crit damage increased by, I do believe, 9% from level 7 to level 10 on Blood Cursed units. From what I have noticed with this kind of a build, he's less likely to actually scale up in damage than I did with the Blood Depth. I'm not sure why, maybe it doesn't proc more often or so, but essentially it would mean that it helps the other mages do more damage. And how can he make the other mages do more damage? So you have, again, which I just spoke of, this one, chance of taking crit damage on Blood Cursed units. I do believe it works for other units, but I'm not sure that this in particular does. Then, of course, you have Corruption. Blood Cursed units are also weakened, reducing their evade chance by 30%. Basically, you need less accuracy to actually hit the targets, or if you have more accuracy or a lot more, basically you don't miss the target. So a lot of the damage does land and none of it gets missed. So this is also a pretty huge buff. And then you have another one. Blood Cursed units are also weakened, reducing, or wait, I just read that, god damn it. Then you have Exalted ability, which while Blood Curse is active, magic damage done to the inflicted unit is increased by 20%. Now, do keep in mind, the level 10 ability, every 0.5 seconds, Arian's target has a 100% chance of spreading it. 0.5% second, so this can spread pretty friggin' quickly. Now, if we look at the formation where I place Arian, before I had it all around this formation and he didn't really work majority of the time, I don't think. The reason for that is I already have incredible amounts of damage due to my mages in front of the mages and stuff like that, and it usually never really scales quickly. The reason why I put it towards the side of my DPS is because whenever he walks forward, there is usually like a swordman squad or any other frontline right here, and it starts spreading that debuff rather quite quickly. And then I have heroes like Valerie who just sometimes arcs off and does incredible amounts of damage to the frontline squad, also just a little bit to the right or the left, depending how you want to call it, or whenever you're facing. And then, of course, it sometimes buffs the spider damage if he arcs a little bit to the left, I guess, or turns to the left. And that is pretty much it for, I suppose, the burst side. There are a lot of prisms in play here. There are a lot of buffs in play here that we're not gonna touch in terms of, let's say, the video, because it's gonna make the video 1 hour long. But basically, you have heroes just by some prisms, just by some abilities, just by some skill effects, making such a friggin' huge damage burst side that not a lot of things can handle. And now, of course, for the stall side. So, you have a lot of skeletons in terms of lich to place and also keep alive. So, usually what I would do whenever I make my burst side is I just deploy 4 squads of skeletons just straight up. And then, of course, put the 5th one in here as well. Then I would put a hero in here right in the corner, touching 3 squads of skeletons right here. And then, of course, I have a choice, either a ranged squad right here or something like that, or a buffer, debuffer, or whatever, or another skeleton squad. And then, of course, I care about placing specific artifacts to buff those units, those armies, and stuff like that. So, to show, my variant has a particular artifact which helps out, which is the Astrarian Fadi. So he covers all of these, I suppose, 4 squads. I'm not sure. Sometimes it doesn't proc properly. Sometimes it does. Sometimes this artifact works wonders. Variant heals like 1.5 or 150 million or billion or what? One moment. Yeah, 150 million sometimes. Sometimes he doesn't. Do keep in mind this is Astrarian Fati, this is Warmaker's main. At this particular fight, like against stall side versus stall side. Then I have a buffer in here with a specific artifact, I guess, or a prism or something like that I end up buffing. And of course, then I have another one, either buffing them or something like that. And then I have Balrog. Now, you do not require to put Balrog frontline. If you do, you're gonna kill him. Now, the reason why I have Avalon here is because to make this, I suppose, frontline squad run forward quicker, but it's also a pretty bad thing to put. My Avalon is like level 61. I want to reset him, right? I want to reset my Avalon, or it's 57. Where is he? He's 57. I want to reset this level, make him level 50, and actually remove him from my PvP formation and put something else. So why is he bad? The thing is, I cannot really put him anywhere on the field without actually messing myself over. So if I put him on the burst side, heroes run forward, they sometimes kill themselves or are in range of Raxia's stuns or whatever and stuff like that, usually messes me up, or some heroes die too quickly, or if I place him on stall, Balrog runs too fast or even into the backline of the enemy, doesn't do anything with Warmakers and ends up dying. However, I do not have enough experience to not have an additional placeholder hero with a buff. So yeah, that is why I have him. Eventually I will remove him and Balrog will be in a bit safer position. So this one is sort of a bit of a fail from me, not having enough experience or things, or even to reset the hero. Then of course I have Kitano. Now my Kitano is not very strong in terms of stuff, because I don't really have good stuff in terms of, let's say, the gladiator set at the moment. So I use something like this. I have Valkyrie's banner, and Valkyrie's banner is on 3 squads of the skeletons. As you can see, Kitano touches all 3 of them. Then I have Yip with, I do believe, Command 2, which buffs 4 squads of my troops right here. And then, of course, I have Talk with, I think, some buffs, maybe, I'm not entirely sure, that either buffs the spider or frontline and stuff like that. And that is how you make your formation. Now, I'd like you to note that if you have a particular artifact, your stall side becomes a lot more tankier. And that is going towards your Balrog and the Warmaker's main. So, you have grants gradual health recovery that scales with heroes max HP. That's 1 healing. Then you have 4-star ability, recover 1% of health every time a non-summon unit dies. Meaning if your unit or their unit or something like that, this helps out 2 or 4 units to not proc invincibilities before they actually like, whenever you're being focused by another burst site, right, you are receiving so much damage and a lot of your units enter invincibility, but you are able to heal some of them on the side or wherever they are to not proc that invincibility. So whenever that half of a squad of your frontline would die, the other squad is still alive, or a half of a squad, meaning they will still need at least 2.5 to like 3 to 4 to 5 seconds to finish the other half of a squad. And if at least 1 unit is still not procced that invincibility, they still would require an additional like 3 to 4 seconds to actually beat it. More if it's Lich, and even more if Gazelle tends to revive them. That is why quite a lot of the Lich stall sides are quite cancer, because you have a lot of Lich skeletons, you have Gazelle with revival, and of course the Balrog healing. So do keep that in mind, it's pretty friggin' powerful. And of course, if you have such a huge burst site with literally decked out mages in terms of like Valerie, 20 million attack almost without the skin. You have Tisafin with 25 without a skin. You have Avril with 18 million with a skin. The damage just becomes freaking crazy to the point that you're gonna kill stuff regardless, and if they don't have some really decked out burst side, you're always gonna have your stall side standing while you're gonna be clearing theirs, and you're gonna perform the pincer move a lot quicker, remove their buffers, remove their dragon or DPSers easier than they would remove yours. Of course, there are nuances where stuff like that may not happen. There are nuances where this formation can get countered very easily because it's a dragon frontline. I'm not saying this is like the most perfect formation at my stage or whatever. But basically, a formation like this, and you get like 150 to 200 plus dual tower points than you should be. And that's literally just for quite a lot of people. It's not really hard to do. And even people, let's say, lower core in earlier servers, like even 100 servers above me, right? Like 3,700 almost, reach similar dual tower points in terms of me if they use a specific formation like this. Now, I haven't faced those people myself, but I know that they do exist. And you're not gonna see the replays popping off in here because they're a lot lower core, and you usually only get these replays if you face like the exact same core and if you win in some RNG or whatever. So you're never gonna see those people. And again, a lot of nuances come into those formations. You can actually win against stronger people who have like a lot of researches done. I don't have those researches, So I make do with what I have on the account to earn more rewards and to win more stuff. Again, do keep in mind that this may not work on all of the formations. This may not work on your server. This likely is not going to work in terms of your realm PvP, just because your dragon dies and you need to spend Linari to revive for Imperium and stuff like that, right? The dragon is not in a very safe position, so this sort of PvP is only advised to do in something like a dual tower with a dragon frontline. Of course, again, if you would use that in realm PvP, and you know how to use it, and you have like decked out dragons, DPSs, whatever, you have an easier chance to win than lose. But if you lose, you have to spend Lenari to revive him. So do keep that in mind. Personally, I didn't really make this formation, or rather, I didn't make the concept of a formation like this myself. The formation that I have myself right now, I made it myself, but the dragon frontline, the heroes on the burst side, I didn't make the concept in general. It's just that I made this formation myself because it kind of works out for me and is like, again, 100 to 150 or 200 dual tower points above than what I likely should be in terms of my hero research. So yeah, a pretty huge leap, a pretty huge jump, and if you do happen to try something like that, again, do make sure that your dragon has to have particular abilities. It's a must. And of course, your heroes have to be somewhat pretty much decked out, or almost, or stuff like that. With their abilities, with their buffs, with their debuffs, and of course your stall side also has to have particular things to actually make it stand or last just a bit longer, while you also have time to burst. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the video. Hopefully you found it useful. Hopefully you learned something new. And if you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. This video is probably like 25 minutes long, maybe 30. So yeah, it's a lot to explain. Quite a lot of people can't even make formations that I like even faced in, let's say, the Island Rumble. Basically, quite a lot of people have dueled me at least twice, and I even had half of my field actually dead, right? And I didn't, like, as you can see, I barely have any heroes on my field. I lost my buffers, my mages, my Avril, and I still happen to beat people which are like the same core as me, which shouldn't really happen if they do make proper formations. So pretty much, I guess this is for people to start thinking about the abilities. This is for people to start connecting some of those abilities together. Either it's on burst side or on stall side to actually get stronger, beefier formation. Now, do keep in mind, this is only my own formation. There can be improvements done, which I cannot do at the moment. There can be various things done to improve it. You can even make a different formation and have it better or worse or stuff like that. Basically, this is just my own interpretation of my own formation, and whether or not it may help you out, that's up to you how you make it, and that's up to you what you have to also make it. Anyways, again, that's pretty much it for the video. If it did help you out, do hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay safe out there.